And I am streaming.
Do I sound good?
Yeah. Oh, you're on your new mic.
Do I sound better than usual?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted. Okay, let's see if we're live. Okay, we're good.
Did you say it?
Hi, everybody.
Oh. I missed my cue. It's the first cue.
Let's go.
Back to one, everyone. Back to one. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to KPLive. It's the first KPLive of the new year. Happy New Year, Sam.
Happy New Year, Sam.
Thanks. And I love that you're sounding great on your new mic.
I did. I bought a mic for Christmas, and I think I sound so much better now.
You sound great. If the audience would like to chime in and let us know how Sam is sounding, and also Sam's mom, if you will let me know how my mic is sounding, because I may need to get a new one too.
My mother texted me a month ago saying you need a new microphone, and that's what inspired this purchase.
And now I need to know if I might need a new microphone. So, Mom, let me know. I just went off of our announcements. So I just wanted to do real quick announcements before we get to our guest, as the usual. First of all, I hope everyone's had a wonderful holiday season and gearing up to start the year. A lot of things are happening in the month of January. Lots of things.
Yes.
So yes. I hope everyone's really excited to get going, because I've been lazy until tomorrow. And then it all begins. So Suzanne Matai has her improv classes, and you have until January 12th to register. And guess what? It's for everyone.
Even me?
Even you, Sam. It's not just for the kiddos anymore. Anybody can join. Yay. And then also, don't forget to purchase Grace Rector's book, The Rector Girls. If everyone remembers Pam Rector, who was a member, and they remember Kim with Kids. She has given tons of advice to her daughter and to everyone. I still hold on to this advice. And Grace wrote a book about it. So everyone, make sure and purchase that. And then also, Alice Lunsford wrote a book called Strawberries You Can't Peel. I know. I'm looking forward to that. It's a mystery. And Sam and I, we know a lot about mysteries.
Correct.
So also look forward to a reposting of a mysterious haunted tour at the Westchester Playhouse.
Ooh.
We might have to revisit that. I wonder how the ghost is doing during all this.
I know. I haven't checked in on him in a while.
We'll have to go check in on him. Wearing masks and gloves and staying lots of feet apart. And then also we've got our virtual play series. Sam, tell us about the virtual play series, please.
Well, it's still happening. Right now, after the show tonight, we have Together, well, it's already premiered, but we have Together Apart currently on our YouTube channel. It was directed by George Kondrick and written by Cassidy Kep. So after the show tonight, you can just stay on our channel and watch it if you haven't already. Yay. Watch it again if you've watched it already. So go right ahead and do that. Next up, we have 3 Syllables of Shame, written by Rom Watson and directed by Catherine Rom.
I'm really looking forward to that.
It is starring Lindsay and Jeremy Palmer. And then after that, we have Surf's Up, written by Ken Levine, directed by Allison Boole, and that will premiere on February 21st. I also forgot to mention 3 Syllables of Shame will premiere on January 24th, so mark your calendars.
That is also closing night of Together Apart.
Correct. That is also the closing night of Together Apart, so you can do a little double feature.
Yeah, and make sure and get that in before that day.
Correct. And then finally, we have State of Independence, written by Paul Coster. Good.
We'll have to double check on that.
And directed by Susan Weisbarth, and that will be on premiering on March 21st. So we have a lot of great shows, great directors, and great writers coming in.
I am very much looking forward to all these shows. I've worked with all of the directors. I'm really excited for what's coming. The actors are wonderful. And I have to say, I'm especially looking forward to the Ken Levine piece, because I recently just did a reading of one of his pieces, and he's a brilliant writer.
I'm really looking forward to it.
He wrote for Frasier.
Oh!
Yes, he's brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to what he has in store for us.
Me too.
Very exciting. So, how you can make sure you get notified when all this stuff is happening, besides tuning in to Sam and Sam, is following us on all the social medias, Insta, Twitter, Facebook. We should start a TikTok.
I don't know how to use that.
How am I more in the know than you are? You're Generation Z. I'm not Generation Z till next year.
Oh, well, see, there are some millennials that use it.
Apparently.
I've never used it, actually.
Apparently. All right. Well, guess we know who's the cool one in this group. It's our guest. And I'm really excited to bring her on. She is a longtime member of Kentwood Players. She's a good friend of mine. We work at Sam, who is also on the marketing committee. We all work really well and together. She is our PR board member. She gets all of our notices out about the Kentwood Players. She is a reviewer in Los Angeles and has reviewed a bajillion shows. So let's bring on Miss Shari Barrett.
Yay! Let's see if it works.
It did work. Hi, Shari.
Here I am. And as the publicist, first thing I have to say is the auditions for State of Independence are coming up on January 23rd and 24th.
Yes,
well,
I saw you posted about that last night. So,
and for those that want to go and look, it's on the Kentwood Players Facebook page.
Thank you so much.
There, and it has all the stuff. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yay. And we didn't just bring you on to do announcements and PR for Kentwood. We actually want to know about you.
Although we could talk about it, but no. Yeah.
We didn't talk about the end. We want to talk about you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess the first thing I want to say about me that people probably already know is that I'm a native. I was born in Los Angeles.
Really?
In downtown Los Angeles, in a hospital, California Hospital, which is now called something else. But you can see it. It's right off the 10 freeway as you're going through downtown. And I was raised in West LA in the Palms area. I've lived on the west side almost my whole life, except when I went to Cal State Northridge. I moved out to the Valley. I became a Valley girl for a little while when I was, yes. But for the most part, I'm raised in the Palms area. I went to Shenandoah Street School.
Wow.
I went to Louis Pasteur Junior High. And then we moved and I went to Inglewood High. Otherwise, I would have gone to Hamilton High, which is now an arts magnet. And then I went to Cal State Northridge. So born and raised and educated
I love
here.
that. Well, a fellow native of the West LA area, Miss Melody Rivers, is saying hello to you on our chat. And little known fact, her son went to Hamilton.
That's right.
I think that's correct.
I remember. And there's several Kentwood kids who went on to Hamilton. And I actually reviewed shows at the Performing Arts Center with Jaron Rhodes.
Yes.
And with Hannah Provisor. They were both in shows there. So now in this capability of being able to review, I can go ahead and review people who I've been watching and who I've admired for years. And it's wonderful to share my enthusiasm about them with everybody else.
Well, I know you didn't start out reviewing. So give us a little backstory of how you got introduced to theater for the very first time and what roles you had when you first started in this crazy world.
Mm-hmm. The first play I was in, I was 6 years old in first grade. That was my first play. And
oh, wow.
And for some reason, it's too long ago, I don't remember. But the teacher was putting on a play for the rest of the school with the first graders. So I was cast. I thought the most fun thing about the whole thing at first was that I got to wear slacks pants to school, which back then, we're talking mid-50s. Back then, you had to wear skirts and all that. So I thought that was exciting. But once I don't remember the part I played, but I just remember how people laughing at me and being the center of attention, which I always liked to do. My cousins and I used to put on little plays for the family at, Hanukkah and Christmas parties, So it's always been in me. And my mom and dad love going to plays. They started taking me to plays as far as I can remember back. When I was a teenager, I had a subscription to the Amundsen before it was the Amundsen.
Wow.
I was seeing plays. But then in the West LA Palms area, there was a playground called Robertson Playground. It's renamed now, but they had a full auditorium, which I don't know if it's still, but they had a full auditorium, and they would do shows in the summer and take it on tours to other places around the city. So that was when I must have been, I remember I played a flower, and I got to be dressed in like, I got to be a flower. And my cousin Rhonda, who's about 3 years younger than me, she was a yellow flower. We were just in the background, but it was so fun, being backstage and having somebody put on a little makeup. And I was hooked. I was just hooked. So it continued through high school, but that's when I first got interested in the actual working backstage when I was in high school, because I found that I had a real interest and a real talent, not only in stage managing, but I loved putting on makeup. I love putting makeup on other people. I'm not a great fan of wearing it myself, but I really love doing it. And when I went to Cal State Northridge, which was Valley State when I first started, my minor was in theater arts. My major was in English. I knew I was going to teach secondary school, junior high and high school. So I wanted to teach, English literature and creative writing. I mean, I still have a collection of my poems I wrote when I was in high school. They're morbidly depressing, but I mean, my mom says I've always been a writer. So that started from the time she can remember, when I started getting interested in words. But the whole thing with theater, just through high school and through college, I really thought I was going to become a makeup artist in the movies. It's what I really, really wanted to do, and what I was training for in college. And in my junior year, remember, this is in the dark ages, I found out that women were not allowed in the union.
Oh.
Wow.
Women were not allowed in the union. The theory was back then that another woman would make a woman look bad.
Oh, wow.
Jealousy. So they only allowed men in the professional makeup artist union.
Wow.
So, and my first focus had always been to be a teacher. I just thought, I really love doing special effects with makeup, and all that kind of, but the teaching was really where I wanted to be, just to kind of, I remember how I felt opened up by theater, and how having a sort of repressed childhood at home, I could really just express myself. I was always the kid that got outstanding in enthusiasm and unsatisfactory in cooperation.
Me too.
Yeah, not much has changed. I know. That's why we get along so well, Samantha. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But all that energy that, my parents liked it kind of quiet at home. So all of that energy I could get out at school. Oh, in grade school and junior high, I played the violin. I studied the violin.
Did you?
I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good at it, but it taught me to read music, at least treble clef.
Yes.
If I see music and it's in treble clef, I can go to piano and I can plunk it out. I know where the notes are.
Right.
So in that respect, and I was in chorus, and as you know, I love being in the ensemble and musicals now. When I decide to be in a show, like in Little Shop at Kentwood, I love being part of the ensemble. I don't like singing by myself, but because I sing bass, they always say, okay, now all the men, all the bass, and Shari, But it's okay. I don't, It's okay.
It sounds like you have a huge love for the theater. It is in your very DNA and your makeup. Sam, you've got a great
Was
question.
there a play or a musical that you watched when you were younger that made you go, "This is it. This is what I want to do"?
Ooh. I think as far back as I can remember, the first one was Flower Drum Song.
Oh,
I do not
wow,
know.
yeah.
Flower Drum Song. And then South Pacific. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
South Pacific. The movie. The movie. Not the stage play, but I remember South Pacific, the movie, because it came out when I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
And just blown away by it.
Yeah.
And even being that young and learning something from it about tolerance and acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
you know. There was another movie too that really affected me, was War of the Worlds, the original one with Gene Barry, that one, the original one. And I used to go, I was raised here in LA with, 8, my sister and I and 7 of our cousins, all like we were siblings, always together. So we, God, I walked out of that movie theater thinking LA had been destroyed. It was, the end of that movie, the man of the destroyer. I really thought I was going to walk out, and I think at that moment I said, wow, I really thought that. The whole imagination.
Yeah.
Which is what theater is to me, just
Absolutely.
igniting the imagination.
Exactly. It's sparking all that creativity and imagination. We have several comments from our viewers. Melody says it's amazing about why the females were excluded by the makeup and trust union. And that is so true. It's so interesting too, because we're not like that at all. I'm also a makeup artist and I love to make people beautiful, unless they're required to not. And then also, Melody also agrees with you. Flower Drum Song. I listen to that record over and over and over, day after day. It seems like it's very inspiring for a lot of people. So it's interesting because your creativity, your imagination is sparked by movies, by theater, by participating, by watching. At what point in time? Because I know you went into publicity first. Before reviewing. So at what point in time did you say my skills will be used as a publicist? And I know obviously you're a writer. So is that where you just found your niche, or how did you get into that?
When I gave up teaching, actually teaching gave up on, anyway, we don't have to go into the whole thing with teaching. I taught here in LA and up in Santa Cruz. I taught in 2 places. And when I decided that I'd had enough of teaching, the next career that I went into was working in the studios, working in film distribution. And I wound up working at MGM and Paramount in the international film distribution.
Wow.
So I wound up, because my bosses figured out I could write well, I wound up writing the press releases about these movies to sell them to places like Taiwan and Hong Kong and all through South America, and talking to people from all over the world about movies. And it expanded what I realized I needed to write to interest all the different people in all the different countries. There were different interests to focus on how I was talking about selling these the product. So, and all the time while I was working in the studios, I was volunteering at theaters here in LA. I worked at the Odyssey Theater. I worked for 2 summers with Shakespeare on the Green in Griffith Park.
Oh wow, they're great.
Which is what led me to Kentwood.
Oh, see, I just thought you've been with Kentwood, since 1st grade. Whenever you started acting.
No, and I wish I had found them earlier. It turns out, because we lived here in Ladera Heights, Samantha, you know where that is, right here.
Yeah.
And that's where I went to Inglewood High. And my parents were subscribers at Kentwood Players back then. Like when they first started, right when they started Well, they were already in the Westchester playoffs because we moved here in '63, but they never took me. I was home babysitting with my sister.
Oh my word.
They never took me. The first time I invited my mom to go to a play there, she goes, I know these people. I go, how do you know these people? She goes, I used to come here when you were a little kid.
Oh, how funny. Oh my
So
goodness.
they would go see a show and leave you to babysit your sister while they were at Kentwood. Got it. Okay.
You were meant to be a part of Kentwood. It's just
You know,
the right
I mean,
timing.
I could have been there when I was really young.
Yeah,
But, you know,
a Kentwood kid.
but how it worked out that I found Kentwood was in 2003. A former roommate of mine who actually lived in this room was cast in a play called The Supporting Cast at Kentwood. And she knew the last 2 summers I had been working in doing Shakespeare in Griffith Park. So because she was doing supporting cast, she knew Kentwood was getting ready to do A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was their first Shakespeare. I believe it was their first Shakespeare play they'd ever done. So when I went to see the play, her name was Alex. She introduced me to Charlotte.
Yes, of course.
Miss Charlotte Lee Gunter.
Miss Charlotte.
And Charlotte, of course, as wonderful as she is, started talking to me to get to know me, to encourage me, you know, to find out more about Kentwood.
Of course.
As soon as she heard I had done Midsummer Night's Dream outdoors in the park, I was assistant director on it. She goes, you have to meet Rob, who is directing Midsummer Night's Dream. The next week, he called me.
Wow.
We met for dinner at Pan's restaurant. And the next thing I know, I was hired to come in as assistant director.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was my entrance. I saw her in the play in December. And by February, I was assistant directing Midsummer Night's Dream. You know, it was getting ready to be cast. I was in with all the casting. I mean, with everything. So, and I haven't left. That was in 2004. May, June 2004 is when it went up.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So you're coming up on 17 years. That's great. And so you started working and doing assistant directing. When did you start doing PR for Kentwood?
At Kentwood, to be on the board, you have to have been an active member for a year. So after that first year was up, they needed someone to run as secretary. And of course, writing, you know, taking notes, having been an executive assistant, yeah, okay. So I actually was the board secretary for 2 years under Sheldon Metz and Shelley James when they were president. I worked under both of them. And then the term of all of the board positions is 5 years. So that year, Ben Lupakis timed out as publicity person for Kentwood. And nobody was interested in running. And I just went,
oh, wow. I'll do it. Little did you know.
And all I can say is, thank goodness Samantha is now handling the marketing. Because you have to remember, when I started doing publicity, the whole purpose of publicity was just dealing with the press, getting the word out to the press, getting the reviewers in. That's how it was written in the bylaws. But by the time I started doing it, the internet was just starting. I mean, I still had to run hard copy publicity photos and send them out in the mail to the press. I mean, that was the way. Yeah. It was expensive and it was time consuming.
Yeah.
And so I was the one that finally said to the board, I said, look, we can send all this out via email and save all this money and all this time, and I can reach more people. And it took a little while. But then, of course, you know, when everything started exploding with social media, there was nobody else on the board to handle it. So guess who got to do all that?
That's right. It was PR that did everything for a year until 2 years ago.
That's right. I started the Kentwood Facebook page when it was up. Somebody else. I did Twitter. I didn't do Instagram. I'm still not great at Instagram, but I'm there. But just all the different sites that there were that were free, because Kentwood didn't want to pay anything either, and I worked really closely with the local newspapers to get the word out, but the trick to really doing it well is getting on the phone and calling the people at the papers so that you're on a first name basis with them, even if you don't go and have a meeting with them, but just so that it's more than just an email coming to them with photo.
Building
and
that relationship.
That, I got a lot of press for Kentwood in the local papers. I mean, they were lucky to get 1 or 2 reviewers for their shows, and I was averaging about 6.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Show back then.
It's interesting because I was just about to say you've had a great impact on Kentwood and its progression and getting seen. And we had a comment from Mario Rocha who says, talking about when you're a publicist for the film companies getting the word out internationally, and he says, without your work, many of those movies wouldn't have been sold or made as much money internationally. And that's huge because the international market is what keeps a lot of these big blockbusters going. And
absolutely. People don't realize there's a whole pattern that movies follow from theatrical, through the cable TV, through pay-per-view releases, through airline releases when they go. And there's a different window for each one and how you sell it into. There was a lot. I mean, I really learned a lot about marketing and writing. And working for them.
We're so blessed to have you at the theater to be able to take all of this knowledge that you have. I mean, film is obviously a very different world than theater, but the building of the relationships, knowing how to sell something to the public, those are skills that you can use wherever. And thank you so much for sending them to using them at Kentwood, because we have seen a great difference since you've been doing it. And I know working with you, our team sees that a lot. So when did you cross over and start writing reviews? How did that happen?
As part of Kentwood, of course, sending out press releases, I reached out to find the people who would come to review us. So one of the people that I reached out to was Don Grigware, who was in charge of Broadway World. I mean, there were a lot of them, but he was one of them. And after a couple of years, I got I don't remember if it was an email or a call from him saying, we're looking to expand. We need more reviewers. We're looking for people who are interested in covering the smaller theaters. We already are doing all the big theaters, but, you seem to be interested in, the smaller theaters, and you write well. Would you be interested in maybe writing reviews for us? And I just went, no, and my friend, and I have to give credit to my friend Valerie Jean Miller, because Valerie Jean encouraged me. I didn't think I could do it, and Valerie Jean said, "Of course you can do it. You'll be great at it." So I said, "Oh, all right." So I called Don back, and he assigned me to go see a play and write a 1-page, single-spaced review of the show to see how I would do. And a week after submitting the review, I got a call from the person in charge of the site in New York, and hired on the spot. Within 2 weeks, I was reviewing for Broadway World.
Wow. And about when was that again?
Oh, you're going to ask me.
Well, I don't need to know dates.
I think 7 years ago. I think like 2013.
Yeah.
I think is when I started reviewing. So Broadway World was first, and then one of the newspapers I worked with was the Culver City News, and there was always an entertainment person with it. First it was Regina Klein, and then someone else took it over. And when she left and there was nobody writing reviews, I called the paper because I knew them. I'd been sending them all our stuff from Kentwood. I called the paper and I said, would you be interested? I said, I would love to, well, sure. What would you like to call it? And I said, well, how about the stage page? How about stage page? And that's where the name Stage Page came from. I've got my little byline with my little photo in the paper. There's not many reviewers now who are in a paper. Now, granted, it's a little local newspaper, but it does have about 30,000 copies that get distributed throughout the city of Culver City. So, I mean, people must be reading it because,
Absolutely.
So, that's fun. And then I got contacted by Better Lemons, and they were posting my things on Better Lemons for a while. So, it's just a matter of networking with people. I belong to 2 different chambers of commerce. I've met people that way, from Culver City and LAX. LAX chamber is from Kentwood Players, and Culver City chamber is obviously from the paper and from the Blue Door, CRE Outreach, which is now Arts Up LA. They have their theater in Culver City that specializes in theater for people with disabilities, all different kind of disabilities. Wonderful. And I really believe in their work and what they do. I consult with them as their publicist when they need me. So,
that's great.
There's been a lot of little theaters. I mean, I looked at my list when you asked me. I looked at my list, and there's like 20 different theaters that over the years that I've repped. From Bucket List Theater. I mean, there's a whole lot of them, and I've learned something from each one of the groups because each one has a little bit different vision as to why they're doing what they're doing. But I love site-specific theater. I love repping site-specific theater. I love going to see site-specific. I miss that the most, not being able to do that now. I mean, sure, going into a theater and all, but site-specific work is really, I love it. I just love it. I love seeing the creativity and what people can do. I went to see a production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest that was done in a warehouse out in East LA somewhere. And when you walked into the warehouse, you walked in to the mental ward. You had to put on the white.
That's a little creepy.
Samantha, it was so much fun. It was
I would have loved that. I would have loved that.
You went in a little bit before the play started, and you got to sit at the tables and play cards with all the actors who were you got to interact with them. I mean, it was very interesting playing Go Fish. That was very interesting playing Go Fish with the people who were a little not quite on
I hope you won.
But you got to know, and Nurse Ratchet was up in her little room watching over all of us, and she'd come out every once in a while, and it was great. You really felt part of it. I did another one of those where the audience had to come dressed up as their own character from the 60s. Ooh. And you walked into the warehouse, and it was made up like a cabaret in Berlin during the Cold War. And you were divided up into different groups to follow different ones of the actors to try and figure out who had committed the murder.
Ooh.
That was really fun. I went dressed up as a stewardess, a 60s stewardess,
Oh, that's fun.
I would have loved to have done that. Oh, that's amazing.
And that was how, I was in Berlin because I was on you had to have your whole backstory to share with everybody. But I had my little suit, and I had my little TWA bag, and, my little Pan Am bag. I've got all those things. My little hat. So it was great fun. Cynthia Rothschild went with me, and she went as a British dowager, the big hat and everything. And one of the characters that she got to interact with was Oscar Wilde. He was actually sitting at one of them. So, Oscar Wilde or Noel Coward? Noel Coward, sorry.
Oh.
Noel Coward. It was Noel Coward. And so he wasn't the murderer. But, and they have a whole cabaret going on, too, while you're being taken to the back rooms, following different people and trying. And there was a bar where you could walk up and get a drink, and the other characters would walk up, and you really didn't know who the murderer was, until maybe you figured it out. I certainly didn't the first time. I was following the wrong person around, the whole time thinking, oh, yeah, I know it's that one.
That's hysterical. That sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, no. It was, all that. I love all that kind of stuff. That's why now with virtual theater, the kind of plays that I'm really loving watching are the ones that really transport the characters into other scenes. There was one about Emmett Till that was done.
Oh gosh.
Where they actually put all 5 characters into a car, even though they were all in their homes. It was just extraordinary. There's another one, The Art of Facing Fear, that was done. That just the talent of moving people around, and you really feel like you're immersed in it. The latest magician show now on at the Geffen is called The Future. It's the 3rd in a series of shows, and the audience actually appears on screen with the magician, and he asks you to participate, be part of some of the illusions, the tricks that he's doing. And I got to tell you, I was called upon to be part of it, and it was just like, I don't know how he did that.
Amazing. Yeah.
But I think that's the way that virtual theater is going to go. Not play readings, but virtual, theater,
right.
Live theater, is that to involve the audience more, to pull us in, because I think that's what people are really missing. That's what we miss about live theater is participating.
Yeah. Because I had seen, I think actually the first virtual theater I saw was with Samantha when I saw Romeo and Juliet Choose Your Own Ending.
Oh my goodness, I saw it too.
You saw it, and for the people that didn't see it that are watching, the characters would ask us which direction they want the story to go. They'd put us in breakout rooms with the character. We'd get to talk with the character, and they're, in character and improvising and all that. And I thought that when I saw that, I was like, oh, wait, this is actually really cool and really different. And I was invested the whole time. It was funny. And it was just such a different way of telling this story in a way that was so inherently for Zoom. So I agree with you. I think I love when I see Zoom stuff where it's like, we feel like we're a part of it. So my question for you is, after we are out of this terrible pandemic, what are the kinds of shows that you're the most excited to see? Because the kinds of shows, which are the types of shows that you're most excited to see? Because I follow your reviews and I follow your social media, and I see that you see the ones that are, you've seen this musical 500 times, and then sometimes you go see like this completely new original show, and then like you said, there's ones where it's like the audience is involved and they get up and walk around. So which one are you most excited to get to review again?
The site-specific interactive shows are always my favorites. There's ones that and while I'm not a real, murder mystery fan, I'm not really. I'm not. I hate to admit it. Agatha Christie. I'm just. I will go see them and I will review them fairly, but they're not my favorites.
Right.
But to go to a site-specific murder mystery where I have to try and solve it and I'm part of it and I'm playing a character in it, I love that.
There's nothing else like it.
It's so much fun. It appeals to my performance in me as well. I like doing that. I have no problem, getting up there and being somebody and being part of it all.
Is that the thing that attracts you most to that kind of theater, is the involvement and being a part of it? And is there a way, if somebody is horrifically shy and does not want to be in the spotlight at all, is there a way for them to enjoy something like that?
Oh, absolutely. For the most part, when I would be given my ticket or audience members would buy their ticket, there's a whole questionnaire that they ask you. If they're going to divide you into smaller groups, they don't want to put all shy people together. They want to, that wouldn't work too well.
Right.
But they divide you all up, whereas, they put Samantha and me in one group, you may as well forget about putting anybody else in our group.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. Uh-huh. Well, our birthdays are one day apart?
Exactly.
Right? A few years, but one day, right? Scorpios.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. You have to get it. But I really miss all of that. Or going to see Shakespeare in Griffith Park, the LA Shakespeare.
Yes.
You know, going
Yes.
and being part of that and being asked to interact. You know, your opinion. You're not just sitting there watching. You're asked to become part of it. And I think almost all shows. Am I still there? Whoops.
Yep, you're here. We still have you.
Good, you're good. We're still here.
Okay. I touched something. Technology. You talk about how you guys are not baby boomer here. I've got to learn, all of this.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Samantha helps me with it a lot. Sorry, my dog just came in. Hey,
You're welcome, Pets here.
Cattail, we're waiting for the cat.
I know she's late on her appearance. I don't know where she is.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I love big musicals. Obviously, everybody loves big musicals, but I love the small theaters, especially if they're doing something innovative. I've been following I always get the letters confused.
LGBTQ
community.
Yeah.
I've been following the work promoting fairness and inclusion and equality for a long time through the center in West Hollywood.
Yes.
When I first discovered them, because they are underrepresented and they need to have people like me, to just bring it out. What's great about what they're doing. The one that was just done, that was done in the new parking structure under where you
March
in your car,
March with Amir Levy.
Yes, with Amir.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I love Amir.
I love Amir.
I love Amir, and he knows it too. And he's one of those actors that if he is in something and I can get to see it, I will, because he totally transforms himself.
Absolutely. We're big fans of him, his and hers. Sometimes I like to say she. They. But yeah, we're KPLive is big fans. We follow Amir and talk about Amir's work regularly.
Yeah.
It's just I repped a production of Take Me Out. And one of the actor who played the main role in there, Barry Briscoe, is now one of my best friends. I've made so many friends from the shows that I've seen or shows that I've repped that have just become such good friends now that I invite to go see shows with me, and I appreciate their feedback. Like Greg Abbott, Harold Dersheimer, all these people from camp go with me to see shows, and I find it so fascinating after the fact having someone to talk to about it.
Right.
And Greg Abbott can tell you there's several things in my reviews, that's something he said to me, and but I usually give him credit for it. It's just the whole mind expansion of reality, seeing a show and learning about other people from their point of view is what I find so exciting. That whole imagination, that's why I was one of the people that started the Kentwood Kids program, with Sheldon and Shelley. We're going to get all the SHs, Sheridan, Charlotte, Shari. It was funny. All of us were SH named, but and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to, bring that back again. That's something I'm really looking forward to, is bringing the kids back into experiencing what the joys of theater through Kentwood, because it is an educational facility. It's learning. It appeals to my teaching of theater, to be able to share all of that, because I learned from them too. I don't have all the answers. I learned from other people. Always have. Always will.
Absolutely.
It helps to have an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're touching on the power of theater. Exactly. We talk about this all the time, which is coming out from watching a show, talking about it. I mean, that's when you know you've really seen something. I want to say good or bad. It doesn't matter because we talk about all of our experiences. And so it doesn't matter whether we particularly identified with the piece or liked it. We're talking about it. And that, I think, is what's important. We're expanding, exactly like what you just said, expanding our knowledge and our creativity and growing through the power of theater. So what are some things?
That's why I attend all talkbacks. If there's a talkback,
Oh, yes.
I will stay for it. I
Yes.
love
talkbacks.
Me too.
I love talkbacks.
Me too. I do too.
It's just, yeah.
Absolutely. So what are the things that you look for when you're reviewing? I mean, because at some point you have to take a little bit of your subjective taste out of it, right? You're not a huge fan of the mysteries, but you go in objectively. So what are the things that you look for? What are the non-subjective standards you look for?
I like seeing world premieres, so I like seeing something new. I really enjoy, like I said, there are actors that I follow who Ann Noble is an actress who I just adore, and if she is in something or involved in something, I will go. There's a lot of people I could go, the list would just go on and on and on. But so the casting of a show, if it's a world premiere, if it's a classic play that I've never seen, because there are some I have never seen, I'll be the first to admit it. I think it was about 4 years ago I saw Arsenic and Old Lace for the first time.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So there are some plays, I mean, I've never read a Harry Potter book, nor have I ever seen a Harry Potter movie. Believe it or not. Believe it or not.
I don't know what to do right now.
There are classic plays, that I have never seen. Now, speaking of classic plays, I once did a production of Waiting for Godot. I assistant directed a production of Waiting for Godot. And anybody who has tried to sit through Waiting for Godot knows, Samantha's laughing, it's a lot of sitting and waiting for nothing to happen, right? It's a lot of sitting. Well, imagine, being in a production of it and being backstage through the whole thing for a long time. But that production, I did it with Boulder Creek Theater, which was up in Santa Cruz, and we took it into Soledad Prison. Soledad Prison. The other woman and I who were working on the show with the rest of the men were the only women in the room at the time. Wow. And we had a specific, we had a dress code we had to follow. But anybody who we interacted with, any of the prisoners, of course, they were all on their good behavior. But I got to tell you, they understood about waiting for nothing to happen.
Oh, gosh.
That was the best audience, the most attentive. My dog is here. The most attentive audience that we had throughout the entire run. I will never forget that. And the talk back with the prisoners afterwards, because none of them had ever seen either the film or the play before. But just the whole thing about having the hope of something that's going to happen, and then nothing happened, and then starting over from hope again, they got it.
I've never thought about it in that way. And you've just opened my mind, expanded my mind, just talking about that experience. That's amazing.
And again, that's another interactive experience that I did.
Absolutely. We have one of our viewers speaking about March, the show we were speaking about earlier, which took place in a garage, as you said, a parking garage. Everyone stayed in their cars because it is a pandemic. And you tuned in through your radio and applauded with your headlights and horns at the end. It was great. It was a wonderful experience. And one of our viewers, Mario, said that he got to see it and that they was fabulous. Amir was fabulous and the work was poignant. And I thought the same thing, that the story, that all the actors were great and they did a wonderful job, and the whole ensemble did a great job with the poignant work. That really, I know a lot of people that I spoke to after they saw it, it really did shed light on lives that I think we have not been exposed to the deeper inner workings. That was really a wonderful piece. And then Daniel, our Del Rey guy, says students can sometimes be the most amazing teachers, and I wanted to throw that in based on your work with the Kentwood kids. I 1000% agree. We talk about that a lot on here too. We learn from them just as much. We are
absolutely. When I taught inner city schools, when I taught at Audubon Junior High, Dorsey High School, I think I learned just as much as they did from me. I learned from them, and I've seen some of them afterwards, years afterwards, ran into them, and they all said the same thing. So that does your heart good when you're a teacher.
Absolutely. And that's what I find is so interesting about the correlation with theater, because just like in that teacher-student relationship where we're both learning from each other, that actor-audience relationship is also symbiotic. We are getting something from the audience and they're getting something from. And I think that goes from designers to everybody who participates. When you sit back and enjoy it with the audience, there's that special communion, and that's creative in life.
Right. It's that teamwork.
Yeah.
It's the teamwork of the cast and the crew. It's the teamwork of the audience and the actors, of
Absolutely.
the technical people. I mean, that's the great thing about theater. It teaches you to work together.
Absolutely.
For a common goal, and I wish the world could learn that.
Yes. That's why we do what we do, to spread that.
That's why we do what we do, folks.
So we have to wrap up. So I want to first say thank you so much, Shari, for spending so much time with us and sharing another side of theater that we don't always see, which is the PR and the review part. And what you're looking for.
I don't think people realize how important that is, because it really just gets the word out. And a lot of times that's what makes people decide to see a show or not. So we thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah.
That's why I do it. My whole thing is, get the word out, get people in here,
Right.
I don't do it for the money, obviously. But it's just come on, guys, get in here. Come on. Get your mind, come on.
I think it's really good too for creatives to understand when a reviewer's coming, it's not to tear apart, but it's really just to exactly what you're saying. It's to share with people who haven't seen what you experienced, and that helps us to be excited about going.
Yeah, well, that's my whole theory about being a reviewer. I hate being called a critic. I love correcting people. I am not a critic. I am not there to be critical of a show. That's not, I'm there to be positive. I'm there to sell a show for you. If I have a few things, critically I need to throw in, but I'm not going to try and tear it apart just because I could. It's not the place. I'm not a critic.
And we appreciate that. And I mean, it's important to get a full review, right? So it's wonderful that you do. So we have some things before you run off. We have some things that we like to ask all of our guests. And so I'll start with what is your favorite experience on or off stage, something that you've seen or been a part of, whatever you want, you can name anything, in the theater. What's your favorite experience?
I think it has to be when I was 16 years old and I saw Man of La Mancha with Richard Kiley here in LA.
Wow.
His rendition of The Impossible Dream, I was going through, how old was I? 16, 17. My first serious boyfriend that my father didn't like. And it just got into my soul, The Impossible Dream, just into my soul. So that's always, when anybody asks me, that's the first thing that comes up.
Wow.
That's the first time theater just, it was, that song. It happens all the time. I told, Ben, when he was playing that role at Kentwood, I said, every time you do that song, it's like right back to being that, heart-sick 16-year-old girl.
That's very special.
I feel like there's always that one song everybody has that just, no matter when it is, no matter what's happening in your life, it always just hits you right where it matters.
Yeah. Mine's on my own.
There are a lot of other ones now too, but that's that was the first.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I have a question. What
I got my
is, and
champagne
you
for
don't
this.
Sorry?
I said I've got my champagne for this. My,
No,
Mar-
drink
my
champagne.
Martinelli.
No, I have my water, my lemonade here. I'm being good.
So, you don't have to name any names if you don't feel like you need to, but is there any debacles that you have been a part of or have seen on or off stage that you would like to share?
She's gonna kill me. And she knows that I'll talk about it. When I did Midsummer Night's Dream at Kentwood, Catherine Rahm was cast as Titania. And there was a Sunday matinee performance. There's a whole scene where Titania has to be asleep for quite a while on stage. The fairies, put her to sleep, and Bottom comes in transformed, with the and there's some point where she wakes up and sees him and falls in love with him, and Don Heath, he should rest in peace. Don Heath was playing Bottom, and he gave her her cue line. Nothing. She had fallen asleep on stage.
Oh no! No!
And as assistant director, I was there. I think I don't remember if I seem to recall that I was backstage for some reason, because I remember looking out from the back, the way the stage was done, we could do that, to look out and realizing she was not going to wake up.
Oh no!
And Don Heath had, when he first realized, he gave her the cue line twice and realized, he did whatever he could to wake her up by staying in character. He started with the hooks, on the ground and neighing or braying, just whatever he could.
Oh my gosh.
And, eventually she woke up and she went right into it, professional.
Wow.
She went right into it, and I don't know that the audience realized what was going on. So what could have been it just sticks in my mind that,
that's great.
There were other things, when I was teaching high school and we did Rashomon, and the students were using fake swords for the fencing scene, and one of the kids almost cut off his finger, and he was gushing blood on stage.
Oh my word!
Trying to, oh yeah, and we had the ambulance waiting as soon as he was done, right in there, and he had to get.
Oh my word! So, anybody who talks about not doing a fight call or anything like that, because this is why we do fight call.
Yes.
That's so terrifying. I have to say, real quickly, going about the actress who fell asleep on stage, that's one of my biggest fears, actually. And I had to play a dead body in Deadly last year and lay down for a really long time, frozen as a dead body. And I was terrified every performance I was going to fall asleep. And there were times, I'm not going to lie, where my mind, because I would just think of things and my mind would drift, that I would go, did I fall asleep? It's terrifying to me. That is so funny. But I also have to say, that was either a really funny debacle or the world's greatest prank.
Yes, that, and again, only Catherine could answer that. I never really thought about that. Because, I think she admitted, she really
she either got him back for something or... That's great. Oh, I love live theater.
It was just, there are, other ones. I was in a show, Babes in Arms, and I was one of the ensemble members, and I had one line in the whole show. I had to walk out and, with a big triangle, and say, lunch is served, and just walk across, to get one performance. I was talking to somebody backstage. I completely didn't go out.
Oh my gosh.
That never happened again.
No, but, we learn our lessons.
And, one of the other actors, as soon as they realized I wasn't there, it wasn't like it was a big line, but it led into, the next scene with everybody going and, getting. So, and somebody else just did it, came backstage and said, did you realize you just didn't do your line? And I,
Yeah.
It was young. That was right after I graduated high school. I was like 17. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yep. And then once it's happened once, it never happens again.
It never happens. It never happens again.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, Shari, thank you so much for sharing with us and spending time with us and being here. And thank you for all of the work you do for Kentwood. It is greatly appreciated.
I love them like they're my second family, and and they know it. They welcome me with open arms, and I've stayed and supported them ever since.
I love it. And real quickly, I know we've got coming up. You will have the grand revealing of your new website, where you will have all of your reviews and articles posted. And do you want to announce the name of that and when we can look forward to seeing that?
It is in the process of being created. I am going to be launching my own website called stagepage.biz.
I'm putting it in there.
And right now I post everything on Facebook, but I really want to have a better name for being quoted for something. Then they don't like to just, for some reason, publicists don't like quoting you by name. They like quoting you by where you publish.
Mm-hmm.
So by having something called Stage Page, I can start doing things there. Now, whether or not I do it as the website or I do it as a page on Facebook, all these things are being worked out.
Great.
But I do have my Stage Page in the paper, but that's one review a week.
Right.
Stage Page that I can do on social media can allow for a whole lot more to be done and written the way I want to write them. So
yeah, I love it.
That's important to me.
Well, congratulations on starting that up and getting that going. And when you are ready to have your big reveal, let us know and we will make sure we do a big special segment on it. And thank you so much for being with us and being our first guest of 2021. Happy New Year. Yay.
Thank you, Shari.
I love it.
New year, new
Happy
hope,
New Year.
everything, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yay,
Yes.
yay.
Yeah, it's just a couple weeks, right? Remember, it's all going to get better.
It is. Here we go. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and being with us every week. We really appreciate all of your support and your interactions. So always make sure you can come and tell us things, comment, ask questions, tell us who you want to see coming up. And I will tell you who's on next week. Next week, we have Tony and Lori are joining us. And they've done tons of designs for Kentwood. And so they are coming to talk to us about their experiences at Kentwood and also a fun radio show that they've written and produced. And you might recognize someone's voice on the radio show. More to come next week.
I met them on Midsummer Night's Dream.
Did you?
Lori was Moth, the fairy that didn't have any lines. And
funny.
And she stage managed. She was one of the first people. She and Tony were some of the first people I met at Kentwood.
Lori Marple she does not like to be on the stage. So it's just that she did that is a big deal. And she's a designer. She's behind the stage, behind the camera. And Tony Presley is also behind the stage designer. They don't like to be on the stage. So that is a big deal that she did the onstage.
She did. And I cast Tony. Tony played Miracle Max the first time that I did the workshop of Princess Bride. Tony played Miracle Max.
Well, he would be great at that. He would be fantastic. Well, we're going to hear from them next week. So everybody tune in. We're going to ask them all these questions. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you. Happy New Year.
Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Happy New Year, everybody.